Hey guys, Pelican here, and as promised, I'll be showcasing my pure DK solo PvP build, which without exaggeration is probably the strongest 1vx spec I've played throughout this entire game so far, and I'm pretty excited to share it. So without further ado, let's get started. So as usual, this is the full build. You can copy it if you want, and I'll start by going through the sets. So pretty standard Pelican build right here. I'm running 2-piece Bloodspawn, 1-piece Trainee, 5-piece Acuity Front, 5-piece Rallying Cry back, and Monomyth Mythic. For my traits, I'm running all in pen, except for the chest, which is reinforced. Running all tri-stack glyphs. For my jewelry, I'm also running all Triune. I want to stack max stats as much as possible, and I'll explain why later on. Running all spell damage glyphs. For my front bar, I'm running both axes and none main hand and charged off hand, and I'm using the Escapist Poison, which is basically 4.4 seconds of immovable. For my back bar, I'm running Sword and Board, none main hand and sturdy off hand, also tri-stack glyph and weapon damage glyph. For my armor setup, I'm running 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light, but it is honestly completely up to you. I think anything works. You can run 5 heavy, 5 light, or anything in between. Just make sure you have one of each for the max stats. But personally, I just prefer medium because I think it fits Acuity the best because of weapon damage as well as crit damage. And I really like that medium has it doesn't have any like penalties to it, and I really like the bonuses since I tend to roll a lot. And I think the reduced damage taken from AoEs is really underrated, especially this patch. There will be a lot of AoE damage because a lot of the DK's damage toolkit will be AoE based, as we will see later on. Alright, so now let's move on to the skills. For the front bar, I'm running Igneous Weapons, Shattering Rocks, Quick Cloak, Flame Lash, Incinerate, and Corrosive. Let's start with Igneous. So this is basically just your weapon damage buff. It lasts 60 seconds, so it's not hard to keep up. Try to keep this up at all times. And it also gives you a little bit of passive damage on your light attacks, which is not like super OP or anything, but it's always nice to have, especially since it can proc the burning status effect. Next up is Shattering Rocks. This will be your main CC. It heals for a lot as well. Like I've gotten 10 to 12k crit heals, sometimes even more I think, because they buffed the heal recently. But they also made it a delay, so sometimes when you use it against people, they do dodge it. So you have to be strategic on when to use it or when to just whip, and I'll explain more later. But yeah, this is a very strong CC right now. Next up is Quick Cloak. Honestly, this is also just your flex spot, but I choose to run Quick Cloak because first of all, if you want to use Escapist Poisons, you need Quick Cloak, otherwise it won't be proccing much. Second, like I said before, a lot of the damage you take now is AoE, so I think having Major Evasion is really good. It also gives some additional AoE damage as well. It's not a lot, but together with all the other AoE damage you'll be doing, this will definitely help quite a bit as well. Next up is Flame Lash. I'm using this morph. Now this is when the proc activates, this is without doubt the strongest spammable in the game right now. It does AoE damage. It heals you for like as much as Breath of Life when you cast it, and it also hits really hard. Like you will easily get 15 to 20k crits with this. AoE, by the way, should I remind you, when Corrosive is up. But it's not easy to use. So first of all, you have to set someone off balance, which the only way to do on our build is to use this passive. So usually I like to heavy attack on the back bar to set someone off balance because I'm really vulnerable on the front bar. And then after that, after you set them off balance, you have to swap to your front bar and whip them once to proc this skill. So this can be really hard to set up, especially if you are like heavily outnumbered. A lot of my clips I just end up dying because because I simply missed a heavy or I missed a Lash. So really hard skill to use when outnumbered, but extremely rewarding if used correctly. So definitely takes some time to get used to. I wouldn't worry too much about trying to proc the 7% damage done. I don't think it's as important as, you know, trying to get this skill up when you need to at the right time. But it's definitely a good bonus to have the extra damage. And like I said before, this skill heals a lot. So when you're on the offense, spamming this is what will keep you alive, because all your other heals will drop very quickly. And even in Corrosive, which has been defensively nerfed to 6% of your max health, so that's about like 1.9k damage max. With Corrosive now, you are not that much tankier. You can still die extremely fast, even with Corrosive out when you're outnumbered. Even in duels, I've like managed to kill people with Corrosive on because they weren't paying attention to their health. So that's where the crit heals from this will really come in. And I say crit heals because when you have Acuity up, all your Flame Lash, your Power Lash heals will also be critting. So you'll be healing a lot as well as dishing a lot of damage at the same time. And that's what makes this build so damn strong. Next up is Incinerate. This gives you a major crit when slotted, which isn't helpful when you have Acuity up, but when Acuity is down, it will still give you a lot of healing on your back bar, so it's really nice. And it also been buffed. Now it does AoE damage to everyone, not just 3 projectiles, and it has a pretty high chance, 15% chance of applying burning. By comparison, single target attacks have a base chance of 10 and chance have 20%, so this is like in between, which is really nice for an AoE skill that procs every 5 seconds, so you'll be constantly applying burning to everyone around you when this is up. But it's not necessary to keep this up at all times. If you're in trouble and you don't have time to cast it, it's perfectly fine to let this skill drop. But do have this up when you're going on the offense, because this will add a lot of AoE pressure to your damage. Lastly, our ultimate is Corrosive. So Corrosive has been buffed and nerfed at the same time. Like I said before, now you take more damage, twice as much, and the duration has also been nerfed to 10 seconds. It used to be 12 seconds. But on the other hand, it does a lot of damage to people near you. Like, this damage is comparable to Destro out, which is kind of insane. I've gotten like 5 to 6k ticks on some squishy people. Usually it ticks for 3 to 4k. So when you have this out up, make sure you stay on top of whoever you're targeting, because this is a lot of damage. And of course, it also lets you ignore all the resist of your enemies. So goes really well with this setup. Alternatively, you can use Onslaught and run 2-hand and then swap Quick Cloak out for some other skill. You can run Burning Embers, which I usually like to run, and then swap Flame Lash out for Molten Whip. So okay, if I forgot to mention before, but you can definitely swap Flame Lash for Molten Whip. I've played with both morphs. Both of them are very good in their own respects. Flame Lash is harder to use, but has way more AoE nuking potential. Molten Whip pretty much guarantees that you have a fully procced whip every time you try to go on the offense, like turn and burn. So this is really good if you just want to take your enemies out one by one. It also hits harder than Flame Lash, if I believe. But yeah, really up to preference. But if you're using Onslaught, then definitely go with Molten Whip. So yeah, that's another variation you can use for this build. Like you can put a charged Battle Axe and run Onslaught instead. Also really strong. Alright, let's go through the back bar. On my back bar, I have Shatter Spike Mentor, Fleet Step Wings, Heart of Flame, Vigor, Blood of Elder Dragon, and Temporal Guard. So let's talk about Shatter Spike. This is pretty much just your armor buff. Kind of forgot where they put it. Okay, here. So again, it does almost the same thing, except now it also gives you increased damage done, and it procs the Landslide passive, which is really nice. This passive will pretty much be full at all times because it doesn't proc off just armor. You will proc off any damage. But yeah, I will definitely use this morph over the other one. Next up is Fleet Step Wings. This is your mobility, and it's honestly an extremely loaded skill. It will reduce your damage taken by 50%, which is kind of insane. Especially if you are fighting like a whole group of people just spamming stuff from you on ranged. Even melee builds, this is good against, because a lot of people are using Spectral Bow nowadays. This will make the Spectral Bow hit like for basically nothing. I've seen like people crit 3k Spectral Bows on me, which is pretty laughable. But yeah, this skill is really OP. I try to keep this up at all times, just because it gives you so much defense from the range skill, from the range reduction alone, and it also knocks people off of you. So you can kind of use this in the same way you would use Warden Charm to get people off your back. And in some situations, you can also launch them off of places like Alessia Bridge or Keep Towers. And of course, it also gives you mobility. So very loaded skill, and definitely run this over something like Race Against Time. Alright, this is the skill that defines DK right now. Heart of Flame is the main reason why DK is so OP. And this is probably the most OP skill in the game right now, so let me explain why. It restores 15% of your missing mag and stam every 2 seconds for 4 seconds. So this skill will give you literally infinite sustain, and I'm not even exaggerating. That's the entire reason why I can run Tri-Stat Foot. Normally on my builds you would see me run Bear Haunch, but with this you need no sustain at all. You can run all damage glyphs, you can run damage Mundus, you can run a damage race. You literally do not need any sustain when you have this skill. So try to keep this skill up at all times if possible, especially when you're low. But one thing about this skill is that it does bug out your mag, so sometimes your mag can get desynced and it will appear full. But honestly, it doesn't really matter, because as long as you're casting this skill, you'll literally never run out of resources. And I prefer this morph also because it has I think the heal is pretty nice, especially when you're low. So yeah, most loaded skill in the game right now. Try to keep this up at all times. Play around this skill. It will also, together with Incinerate, it will form like the backbone of your burst. So you normally, the way I like to do it is, because Incinerate takes 5 seconds and Heart of Flame takes 4 seconds, you can cast Incinerate and then cast Heart of Flame and do whatever else you need to do, and both of them will go off at the same time, so it is really nice. Together with your whip, you can probably one-shot most people. Next up is Resolving Vigor. This one doesn't need much explanation, it's just a heal over time. And finally, we have our burst heal, Blood of the Elder Dragon. This skill heals a lot, like especially when you're low, it heals way more than something like Healing Soul. So I really like this skill, and it also gives you minor courage. Alright, lastly we have Temporal Guard. So Temporal Guard, I'm just slotting for the passive, which is minor protection, and I don't really use this ultimate, but if you want to, you can swap this out for some other out. Like for example, you can put Corrosive back bar and run something else front bar like your leap, or maybe dual wheel out or onslaught if you're using it, or you can also run sword and board out, but I just prefer to have more defense overall. So that's all for the for the skills. Now let me go through the rest of the stuff. First of all, my attributes: 40 into mag, 24 into health. As long as you have above 30k health, you should be fine, and then you just put the rest into Magicka. For my Mundus, I'm running Shadow, just to maximize my crit damage and healing during Acuity. And for my race, I'm a Dark Elf. Dark Elf is 100% the best race to go this patch, because there will be so many DKs, so having Flame Resist will be kind of nice. But also because it gives you max mag and stam, and like I said, you want to stack as much max stats as possible this patch for DK, just to maximize the sustain from Heart of Flame. And of course, it also gives you some spell damage. Alternatives, I would probably go Khajiit if you are not a Dark Elf, but Breton also works. But I think the max sustain from Breton will be kind of wasted because honestly you don't need that much sustain. This is more than enough. High elf also works, and you can probably make other races work as well. Just try to stack as much mag as possible. And I'm also not a vampire. Going vamp would be a bad idea this patch because of all the DKs. And for my potions, I'm running spell resist pots. So these pots, the ingredients are shown here. They give you spell resist. Now you'll be wondering why I'm not running tripods, and that's because I have too much stem sustain already. I literally do not need any more stem sustain, especially because well, if you're running low on stem, you can always just heavy attack. Heavy attack restores so much stem now, especially since you also set people off balance. So I don't feel the need for tripods, and that's why I decided to run the spell resist pods. So credits to React Faster for suggesting this. I put his channel in the description below. He also posts a lot of good videos. Do check them out. But yeah, if you are running out of stem, like for example, if you are not in 5 medium, you might be having more trouble sustaining your stem, then you can definitely still run tripods. But I really think the spell resist will be super useful this patch. DKs do all spell damage now, and DKs are everywhere now. A lot of dangerous stuff like Spectral Bow are also spell damage, so having spell resist will definitely help. And I think that's all for the main build. So let's move on to my CP. I'm running Duelist Rebuff, Ironclad, Ocular Overload, and Fighting Finesse. I really like Ocular Overload because you do so much AoE damage now, and you also apply status very easily. So Ocular gives a lot of nuking potential, but if you're not looking to like completely wipe a lot of people, I don't think you need this. I will recommend running Focus Mending for more healing. And for my raid CP, I'm running the pretty standard, the 3 standard CPs: Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, Sustained by Suffering. And for the last CP is a flex spot. I run Juggernaut because I like the percent mitigation. I feel like it's really nice against Corrosive. So normally I run Fortified, but I feel like Corrosive might be a problem this patch. So I wanted to have more percent mitigation. But yeah, you can definitely run Fortified. You can run Boundless Vitality so that you can run more max mag. You can also run Celerity for more speed. So that's all for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And huge thanks to React Faster, Grahamster, and everyone else who helped me with the theory crafting for this build. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or any suggestions below. And I'll see you in the next video.